Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Suspense Safari. Today, we're delving into a shocking and disturbing true story from the summer of 1968 in England. It's a story of innocence lost, unthinkable acts committed by a child, and the chilling details that continue to haunt us. Join us as we explore the haunting case of Mary Bell, a name that became synonymous with the unimaginable. Let's begin. It was the summer of 1968 in Scotswood, a community north of London in England. Martin Brown's lifeless body was discovered lying on the floor inside a boarded-up, condemned house, with blood and saliva trickling down his cheek. A few weeks later, 3-year-old Brian Howe was found strangled in an industrial area where the local children were known to play. He had various strange wounds, including puncture marks on his thigh, partially mutilated genitals, and clumps of missing hair. A few days later, another mark became evident on his belly, where it looked like someone had tried to scratch the letter M into his skin with a razor blade. A pair of broken scissors lay nearby. The community was in a state of panic, and the police were looking for answers. 2 children, Mary Bell and Norma Bell, started behaving oddly during questioning. Mary, in particular, seemed excited by the murders, even smiling during interrogations. While both girls initially implicated each other, Mary's mention of the pair of scissors, an undisclosed piece of evidence, led the police to believe they were involved. The bizarre notes left behind at a nursery school also added to the mystery. The story Mary told the police didn't hold up because the boy she mentioned in the interrogation had proof he was at the airport when Brian was killed. But when Mary talked about the scissors, something only the police knew, it made them think she was part of it. The police started thinking that Mary and Norma might be connected to the murder. On the day of Brian's funeral, a detective saw Mary standing outside his house. What shocked the detective was that Mary was laughing and rubbing her hands together as Brian's coffin was carried out. He felt the urgency to take action before another child was harmed. So he questioned Mary's friend, Norma Bell, again before Brian's funeral. What Norma told the police this time was shocking. The childishly scribbled notes were filled with profanity, but more unsettling were the messages about murder, including one that started, "We did murder Martin Brown." Another one said, "I murder so that I may come back." At the time, the police still assumed Martin's death was an accident and wrote the notes off as a joke. Mary would later admit to writing them for a giggle. It also came out that Mary had been overheard by other children screaming, "I am a murderer," and pointing to the house where Brian was found, saying, "That's where I killed." But Mary was known to tell tall tales, and her claims weren't taken seriously. Mary's strange comments and behavior didn't stop. She was known to say, "I like hurting little things that can't fight back." Her lack of emotions and unusual demeanor led psychiatrists to label her as psychopathic. The question of why haunted investigators. Mary acted alone in killing Martin Brown, and her story kept changing. Could her psychopathic actions be a result of deep trauma? Mary's troubled childhood and the disturbing circumstances of her upbringing began to shed light on her dark psyche. Mary was described as very manipulative and intelligent. She was known to be violent and dishonest. The violent streak began when she was still a toddler, her family said, when she frequently lashed out and hit them. In kindergarten, she wrapped her hands around a classmate's throat and squeezed. When family members started to come forward about what Mary had endured in her young life, it started to make a little more sense as to how a child could turn into a violent psychopath. When Mary was born, her mother Betty reportedly said, "Get that thing away from me." She was eager to drop Mary off with relatives whenever possible, and even once tried to give her to a woman who had been denied an adoption. Betty's sister managed to get Mary back from the woman. Family members say that by the age of 2, Mary had already started to act cold, detached, and withdrawn. Other stories from family members came to light. Mary had watched her 5-year-old friend get hit and killed by a bus. Mary's mother was a sex worker. Mary was given intentional drug overdoses by her mother. Additionally, it was believed that Betty suffered from Munchausen by proxy, or MSBP, an extreme form of child abuse, in which a caregiver intentionally harms a dependent to earn attention and sympathy. Both Mary Bell and Norma Bell were charged with 2 counts of manslaughter. During the trial, new evidence and information emerged. Norma was acquitted of all charges, but Mary was convicted of manslaughter due to diminished responsibility. She was to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, an indefinite sentence of imprisonment. In 1980, after serving just 12 years, Mary Bell was released from prison at the age of 23. She was granted anonymity to start a new life under a new name. Controversy and court orders surrounded her release, but Mary managed to maintain her privacy. In 1984, Mary became a mother herself. There was significant debate about whether she should retain custody of her child, given her history of taking 2 young lives. Nevertheless, authorities allowed Mary to raise her daughter. Local law enforcement, already informed of Mary's whereabouts, disclosed her location and identity, sparking outrage among the community. Her daughter had been unaware of her mother's dark past. In response, Mary approached the High Court, seeking lifelong anonymity for both herself and her daughter. Dame Elizabeth Butler Sloss, the president of the Family Division, granted the injunction, preventing the media from revealing the current identities and whereabouts of the Bells under Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights. Years later, Mary Bell became a grandmother, raising concerns about her past. She was paid to tell her story in a book, Cries Unheard. Despite efforts to keep her identity secret, her whereabouts were revealed, causing public outcry. The case of Mary Bell remains a haunting enigma. Her actions, motivations, and the disturbing circumstances of her childhood continue to perplex us. It's a stark reminder of the complex interplay between nature and nurture in shaping a person's life. We may never fully understand why Mary Bell committed those unthinkable acts, but her story serves as a chilling cautionary tale. Thank you for joining us today on Suspense Safari as we explored the chilling case of Mary Bell. If you found this story as fascinating and disturbing as we did, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime content. And remember, the darkest secrets can often lie hidden in the most unexpected places. Until next time, stay curious,